A documentary on Wladyslaw Stanislaw Reymont by Victoria No. At the end of this presentation, you'll be able to have some knowledge about his life and his accomplishments. So let's get started. To start off, you may be wondering, who is this guy and what did he do? Well, his birth name was actually Wladyslaw Stanislaw Reymont. He was born on May 7, 1867, into a village of Kopyla-Vyekya, a Russian empire. The village was under Russian rule during that time, and today it is located in Poland. His father was a church organist, and his mother worked as a messenger in the village. Out of 9 children, he was considered as one of the youngest. When he was young, he'd always had a long, dangerous spell of illness, and his health was always delicate. Under his household was the most passionate and strict Catholicism was ruled. They all lived a hard-knock life, which was almost like the peasant's life. At the age of 9, he became passionate about reading and poetry. His first few poems were about a mysterious older woman. He had a thorough knowledge of contemporary Polish literature, as well as the foreign literature in Polish translation. At the age of 12, a lot of unfortunate events happened, whereas his father created an organist out of him. He was able to learn the sacred music on the organ so heartily, so quickly, that he began to despise it. Although he became an organist, his passion for reading continued. During that time, he had books under his coat and disappeared into the woods to escape from his father's music lessons. Literature was his only getaway ticket from reality. Reymont had a wild imagination and a tender heart, whereas misery was his inseparable companion, and for being a socialist was his punishment. At the age of 20, the Russian authorities had expelled him from Warsaw, after suspecting that he took part in the strike that broke out in Lodz for the first time. He was then considered as an irresponsible minor, and they entrusted him into the custody of his father. He also got surveillance by the local police. Soon, he parted from his family members due to their strict and extreme conservatism in religious practices that went through his family, as well as their involvement with the rebellion group against Russia. He later became an actor that traveled around the country with a small troupe of actors. After discovering that acting wasn't going to go far, another job of his was becoming a railroad clerk. He lived in a province in a peasant's house between 2 stations. His income was very low during this time. He returned to the theater for many months. He was touring with a small company, but the company was dissolved and left on the road. During this time, he offered his services as a producer in amateur theaters and wrote for provincial journals. But then he returned to work for technical services in the railway. However, when he noticed that he hit rock bottom, his life was hard and monotonous. Living on bread, tea, and dreams at the age of 22, with 1 suit and a pair of boots with holes in them, he finally took off on his writing career. After many years of traveling again around Europe, he got into a train accident in 1902 near Warsaw. He didn't regain his health completely, however, that didn't stop him, and he continued his writing. He had published the first version of Chalopi, also known as The Peasants, in 1903 to 1904, but he later burned it and rewrote the novel into 4 volumes instead in 1904 to 1909. Chalopi earned Reymont the Polish Academy of Competence Prize in 1917 and the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1924. A year after receiving the Nobel Prize, Reymont had died on December 5, 1925, at the age of 58 in Warsaw, Poland. Now on to his work. He was able to write numerous literary works, a total of 36 completed volumes, but Chalopi was the work that we're going to talk about since he won the Nobel Prize for it in literature of 1924. First off, the novel was written in an all-peasant dialect to resemble the rural life in Poland for the 4 seasons of a year: autumn, winter, spring, and summer. The novel created a more visual of the country life than any other writing piece, hence the fact that the novel was genuine and pure to its ethnicity, customs, and the behavior of its people. In each volume, the story contains different traditions and holidays celebrated. Likewise, in the fall, marriage and wedding traditions, winter, Christmas traditions, spring, Easter traditions, and lastly, the summer life of pickling cabbages and spinning wool. Also, to be more specific on the peasant dialect, it was written in a Laos dialect. Bringing the entire story to life, the story was taking place in Lips, an actual village where the author himself had worked in his past life on the railway. Today, his legacy lives on, and his famous book that has received the highest honor. His literary work has translated into 27 different languages and was turned into a film in 1922. In addition, there was a mini television series in 1972 that was about his amazing work. Now on to the question, did he deserve what he won? In my opinion, the entire purpose of the Nobel Prize was for individuals or organizations that have worked for the greater good of the human society. In 1924, Stanislaw Reymont was given the honorable award for his work in literature that showed many parts of a peasant life in the early 20th century to readers. Chalopi is a great example that allows many of us to read, learn, inspire, and gain ideas from by its writing style. It opens our mind by allowing us to visualize something that can be compared to our current life. In fact, it is very rare for a writer to get a chance to write a piece that is all in one dialect, and that it's genuine to its authenticity, where someone in the 20th century living in Poland would experience. In this case, I believe that Stanislaw Reymont truly deserved this award because he wrote it for those who weren't allowed to speak up. And he is inspiring to me on how he didn't give up on his passion and dreams when he had hit rock bottom. Instead, he continued his wonderful work and was able to show others the life that many Polish people were living through in a romance and cultural fictional story. And that's about it on the Nobel Prize winner in literature of 1924. Thanks for watching.